Hello YouTube, I'm the Foam Witch and this is the second video in my series of how I made my Skyrim armour. This video is going to focus on the belt section, so let's do this. To make the remaining parts of this costume, I'm using templates from the Awesome Punished props. I will put a link in the description of this video so you can go and check them out yourself. Starting with the foam, I'm using 5mm foam for the base. There are a few other bits that I use 5mm for. Most of the details I use 3mm and the two side pieces will be 10mm, but I'll explain those when I get to them. Starting with the front section of the belt, I draw around the template, flip it over to mirror the other side to give the full front piece. This then gets cut out of the foam using the most important tool in foam crafting, a sharp craft knife. I then do exactly the same as I've just done for the back part of the belt. All of the pieces of the template are labelled, so this really helps when you're putting this all together. Before I went any further with the build, I had to make sure that this part was going to fit and also how it sat with the chest plate. So I just very roughly stuck it on using masking tape to hold it together, and it seemed to be the right size. I then glued the front and back sections together and added some Velcro on the side, which is how I was going to take this on and off. The glue that I am using for this project is specifically for foam hot glue sticks from the incredible Tag Supplies. Make sure you go and check them out because I will not stop raving about these glue sticks, they are incredible. Then it was one more test fit and the fit was perfect. Now that the base of the belt was complete, it was time to start working on building up all of the detail. Starting with the long line detail that goes across the whole of the top of the belt. Cutting these pieces out of 5mm foam, following the sections of the template, sticking them together and then sticking them onto the base. And this is how it looked once that part had been added. Then the middle section for the back part of the belt was cut out, also out of 5mm foam. This piece has a circle detail in the middle, so to do this I cut this whole circle area out and then trimmed this to size so I didn't waste any foam. All of the edges then got sanded down with my Dremel to tidy them all up and just to round them off to make them look a bit neater. This is how it looked once it was all neat and tidy. And again, using the hot glue to stick them on, they got stuck to the base. There were then some extra pieces to add to both the front and the back of the belt pieces that get attached on the bottom of both parts. Again, these part of the templates are labelled and this is where the swirly details are going to be added. All of the parts you can see me cutting out here were cut out of 5mm foam. If you watched my previous video where I made the chest plate, you will remember that I had to drill in like a million little tiny holes by hand. This was also needed on this part of the belt. To drill these holes in, I used the drill attachment, and that's probably the most obvious thing I've ever said. The thin rectangle shaped details then got stuck onto this, and for this, because they were so thin, I used contact adhesive. Time for more hole drilling, and more cutting out of pieces. Like I've said previously, before I stick any piece onto my build, I sand down all the edges with the sanding barrel attachment. You really don't have to do this step if you don't want to, I always do though because I think it just gives it a much nicer finish. And just as before, these got stuck onto the base. On this belt part there are 8 sections that have what I call the swirly details. These all got cut out of 3mm foam and it did take forever. Each piece got cut out of the template, transferred onto the foam, cut out of the foam, sanded with the Dremel, and then attached to the belt. Like I said, yes, it did take a long time, but these details really make this costume pop, so in the end it was all worth it. This is how it looked once the swirly details for the back part of the belt was completed. I had to repeat the whole process for the front part of the belt. I haven't added that to the video because it'd be about 8 hours long. But this was how it looked once the drilled holed swirly details were finished for both the front and the back. It was then time to move on to making the disc shapes that are on both sides of the belt. I will admit these were a little bit tricky to make because of the shape that they are. They've got this V-groove undercut underneath that you then glue into place that gives this kind of curve. I did make these twice and I was happy with them the second time. To make these, I used the thicker 10mm foam, also cutting the centre section out. A guideline then got drawn on, and this is where the V-groove got cut out from. To cut these undercuts into the foam, you have to use a very sharp craft knife, cutting either side of the line in an inward angle, giving a V shape, hence the name V-groove undercut. I am absolutely not the best in the world at these kind of cuts, so once I had cut this, I took the polishing stone on my Dremel just to make the grooves a little bit deeper. And this is how it looked once that was finished. Hot glue was then added in the whole groove, and then it was kind of squished into place, squishing the foam inwards, using masking tape to hold it in place while it dried, and once it was dried and released, this is the curve that it gave the pieces. The centre section that I cut out earlier was then reattached, and then these got stuck on both sides of the belt. A groove section got cut out from the front of each of these pieces. This is where the fake leather strips were going to lie, so they lie flat. And these leather strips were cut out of 3mm foam and using the tinfoil method made to look like leather, attaching Velcro to the one on the side where the opening of the belt was. Each of the side disc shapes has a smaller disc that sits in the middle, so again, these were cut out of 10mm foam. These parts also needed to look like leather, so again, using the tinfoil method, heating the foam up with the heat gun, and then pressing a rolled up ball of tinfoil into the foam, which gives a leather effect. And this was done for both of these pieces. I then moved on to making the belt buckle for the front, cutting the base out of 5mm foam, and then also cutting an inner and an outer ring also out of 5mm that got stuck on top of this. This piece also had the holes drilled into the centre. I forgot to film that part though, and I'm pretty sure you're bored of watching me drill holes. A very fiddly detail piece then got cut out of 3mm foam, which got stuck into the centre of the belt buckle. Once the belt buckle was complete, the two discs on either side got stuck on, along with the remaining leather strips. And then the belt buckle got stuck right in the middle. And this is how it looked once all the foam work was completed. Now this belt section has some smaller belts attached to it, and because I was feeling a little bit lazy, I didn't want to make these, so I bought some thin belts off eBay and just stuck these on to give the desired effect. I did go back and add some belt loops to the front, which I'd forgotten about, so they're not showing in this video, but once they were added, the belt was complete. If you are still watching this video, I want to give you a massive huge thank you. If you've liked it, please give it a thumbs up. The next video in this series is going to be where I make all the smaller armour parts, so if you don't want to miss that, make sure to subscribe now. So huge thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time.